It's me again. I'm sure you're all fed up with me, so I'm going to try and keep this as short as possible. But I have a fabulous panel of four founders and creative directors of great fashion labels, each with such a different aesthetic, yet each with a belief in conscious consumption. Amit Aggarwal's label is well over a decade old. He has two flagship stores in Delhi, another one in Mumbai. And he has made all of us in Indian design look at zero waste in a new eye. He takes from traditional but makes something that looks so futuristic. And many of you may remember Priyanka Chopra in this deconstructed, upcycled Patola sari and holographic bustier from the opening of the NMCC. And that was the work of Amit, and that's just one example of his amazing work. And at the end, we have Gaurav Jai Gupta, who runs a line called Agarwal. He's a trained fashion and textile designer, and he is really known for his innovative weaving techniques and his use of metallic threads. And if you go on his website or on his Instagram page, please have a look at his molten gold sari. I've never seen a sari like that, and I think he made us relook at the sari in a very new light. Clio Peppiat is the founder of her own label with her own name, which she started from her living room, I believe. She's known from her playful aesthetic. She interned with Alexandra McQueen, and today from her bedroom, she's this company that stocks at Net-a-Porter and Zabitha and Etoile in Dubai, and has dressed celebrities like Taylor Swift and Lady Gaga. And thank you for joining us from London. And the youngest person on our panel is Harsh Agarwal, based in Jaipur, so he's had quite a hop of a flight, so thank you. His label, Harago, was launched just before the pandemic. And I think most of us learned about it in the pandemic because we were so thinking about craft and fashion in a very different way. And his label he today sells at Bloomingdale's UA, Matches, fashion and stores in America. And it's amazing how quickly he's managed to grow and really grown the menswear market in a very different way. So thank you for joining us from Jaipur. So as I said, all of your brands are recognized for your sustainable approach. But something that I thought Darshana said that was very interesting in that panel was that everyone expects sustainable clothing to have this certain look, especially in India. They expect it to be these khadi sort of wearing clothes, and it kind of has a look. All of you do it so differently. Just tell us, has it been a challenge to be seen as sustainable because of your looks? And how have you pushed that envelope? Maybe Amit, you'd like to start.
How long would you want the story to be?
As short as possible, but with as much detail as possible. I want it all.
Okay. So in a nutshell, I actually come from a time and space where, household conversations were more about how do you save the family than saving the planet. I come from a very humble upbringing back in Bombay in early 80s. And I think that back in the time, sustainability wasn't the term that it is today. I think for us, the bread used to come in a wrapped Vibs cover, which was almost a buttered paper. And then once the loaf was over, we would actually use the cover to wrap our rotis and take that bread to school. So I think sustainability, more than a pitch, it is something that we had to live with, grew up with, and I think it's always been a way of life. When I ventured to do what I do today, I actually had absolutely no financial backing. I had barely enough money to pay the rent for that one particular month and have one tailor on board. So I was scouting for factories, and one of the places I found actually had heaps of scraps of die-cut plastic, and that really fascinated me. And I took a big pile of that home, like a big kabadi wala. And I think I started toying with the idea of how could textiles be made out of something that's an industrial waste. Considering I come from a family of engineers, so I've always seen my father work with metal scrap all through his life. And I don't think I define sustainability by the way, exactly like you said, the world looks at it. It needs to be all organic, all a certain way. I think sustainable for me means a way of life I think it's also pushing the boundaries of what creativity means. And for me, the most beautiful bit of sustainability is that when we started our textiles, I call it the Salma story. So there was this, the first, in India, it's a common practice that a maid or so-called jamadarni comes to clean your washrooms and toilets. And that caste isn't really allowed to work uh, anywhere else. And I was looking at someone who would weave one of my textiles, which I had done, by hand, a small little swatch. And I walked up to her and said, "Didi, aap ye karoge? That would you do this for me?" And she was shocked because in India, the owner of a company wouldn't speak to a Jamadarni. And that's where the journey of Amit Aggarwal began, where with her little weave, she collected hordes and hordes of women who would be actually women who worked as maids or women who would actually sweep floors. And they started coming in by numbers and they became a huge community. And that was the emergence of the Amit Aggarwal textile, the first textile that we ever wove by hand. And today we literally have hundreds of families and women who work out of home and supply the textiles for us. And it's a similar story with the embroideries or with the sewing, because I used a material that a skilled craftsman would actually hate to use because it's an unconventional material. We work with recycled rubber, recycled plastic, with scrap. And I'd get a tailor, and the tailor would sit on the machine for 5 hours and then move on. And I was really disheartened, and that's the time I actually started getting people who were unskilled but really, really eager to push themselves to do something new. And I think, I don't look at sustainability as a tent dress. I look at it as sexy, strong, powerful, owning the world, capturing every minute.
Cleo, your
every time.
dresses are very sexy and very party dresses. So how does it? Is it hard for you to be seen as someone who is in this circularity, sustainable space?
I think there's so much room in the evening wear space in sustainability. It feels like a new way to educate our customer. I think that look of, what a lot of people think of when they think of sustainable clothing is not sort of straight away equatable to evening wear. The finish of evening wear, the savoir-faire that is used in evening wear, I think there is a lot of education for the customer to link that to luxury evening wear.
Little niche.
Yes, I think we all have.
Yeah, we all have.
Yeah.
Gaurav, you're obviously, as we all know, renowned for your textiles. And your recent collection, Moonrise, really was very fashion-centric. You mentioned in an interview that you've been thinking a lot of the future of Indian textiles on the global stage, and that's what was in your mind preparing for this. Have you found an answer to that question?
I think I always knew the answer. It's just that we're talking now. So the way I look at it is that, I think fashion globally carries a baggage of how it is supposed to be. And if you actually look at India, in the national language is Hindi, we don't have equivalent of the term design. We don't have a term equivalent of fashion.
We have a word for tailor and we have a word for our craftspeople.
Yes. So see, our story is craft as a country, and I think it's time we've always recognized it, but I think we're more confident about it because we've come a full circle, economically, politically, socially as a country. It's a confident young country now, and I think it was just about that. So it's a new format, it's a new narrative, it's a new language, and if I have a discipline which I've engaged with for more than 20 years now, I'm the best person to talk about it. So I don't think anybody should come from somewhere and tell me this is how, because it was done, it should be done, right? So I think largely that's what it is about, and yeah.
And India is having a moment. I know that's something we've discussed.
Yes.
Why
yes.
do you think that moment is happening now? Everyone sort of says it's the Dior show or something that...
Dior show happened because we are having a moment. It is not because of Dior that it was a moment.
Hey!
No two hoots about it. Why are we sitting here in Pondicherry, all of us? This is one of the India moments that the fact of the matter, we are here. But I think it's a collective sum of the age of the country. We are a young country, and yeah, we are right now very strong, and it's a full circle. I think spiritually also, and I also think we are in a very volatile age. What the world needs is empathy. It needs a lot of love. And I think we are the best people. That's what we are. We are the spiritual capital.
It's in our philosophy.
Yeah.
So, Harsh, I'd love to ask you, because Harago's done so well recently. Do you think it's easier for brands born in the last maybe decade or even 5 years to talk about sustainability than brands that perhaps were born in the 80s or 90s? Because it's only become a conversation point now. And is it important to put it in from day one?
So when I started Harago, I was very clear from the day one that I'm not calling it a sustainable fashion brand. I think it has to just, come from within, and like it's by default there. So you don't really have to talk about it. And I personally believe that fashion can never be 100% sustainable. So for us at Harago, largely the focus is at craftsmanship and how we work with our karigars, how we incorporate different kind of crafts within our design, within our collections. That's where I guess the essence of sustainability is, but it doesn't have to be talked about as sustainability, because we are here to promote the legacy of craftspeople and take that forward. So I guess it's a thing that is sort of, because it's a word now and it's a buzzword now, so we're doing it, but designers from, I think, 80s and all, they've always been doing it, or it's been in practice.
Cleo, as someone who sort of does party dresses, I wonder, have you ever thought, since we're talking about circular fashion, about looking at renting or sort of, because it is a party dress, would that be something you would look at? And would any of you look at that sort of space within your design philosophies?
We actually don't, and we've been approached by all of the major rental spaces in the UK. I have 100% confidence in my product that it is not something to be worn for one night. When we were talking about sustainability, I completely agree. I think our customer falls in love with the product, and then they learn about the sustainability. Actually, second. And having said that, one thing that is always translated well with the product is it's something to be kept for a lifetime. It's something, hopefully, that will be passed on to a loved one at some point in their life. Something I'm always trying to think about, will this still feel special if it's found in a vintage shop in 50, 80 years' time? So I think...
And how do you then incorporate, because I know you no longer show it every season, how do you incorporate trend but also say timeless? Because there's kind of a battle between the two. And yours is, every season looks so different, but yet they're pieces. It's a battle. I mean, how do you balance that?